Today, we'll provide a brief overview of the HP ProLiant MicroServer Gen 10 Plus and explore potential CPU, memory, and storage upgrades. On the front left, you'll find two USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, while the right side features multiple informational LED lights and the power button. This server uses an external power supply, which is acceptable, but we prefer internal power supplies, even if it means a slightly larger server. Keep in mind that upgrading components will be more challenging due to the 180-watt power limit. Now let's examine the back of the system. Here's a view of the back of the system. To remove the cover, unscrew the two thumb screws on each side. To take out the motherboard, unscrew the two black screws on either side of the fan. The back features two expansion ports, one for an ILO management card and another for any half-height PCIe card. In the lower left corner, there's a spot to plug in the external power supply. The system includes four 1 gigabit ports, ideal for firewall or VoIP setups. For video output, you have two options, an SVGA port or a display port. Additionally, there are four USB 3.2 ports on the back, which is a great addition. Now let's remove the front cover. With the front cover removed, you can see the four 3.5-inch drive bays. For 3.5-inch hard drives, simply use the supplied screws to attach two on each side. For 2.5-inch drives, you'll need adapters, which HP does not provide, but you can purchase them from various vendors based on your preferences. We believe HPE should have included these adapters. Once the hard drive is installed, align it with the port and gently push it in. We've taken out two thumb screws and are now ready to remove the cover. You might have noticed that the thumb screws we're using are different from the ones supplied by HP. These are Lenovo thumb screws, and we prefer them over HP's. Now, let's slide off the cover and check out the internal components. We slid the cover off and then lifted it up. Even with the cover removed, you'll notice that most of the components are still inaccessible. The system only includes a single 16 GB memory module. Take note of the blue knob on the front, which can be used to lock the front cover in place. Next, we'll remove the motherboard to access the remaining components. We removed the two black screws and extracted the motherboard. The motherboard is mounted on a metal plate that slides out and includes a riser for two ports. We also disconnected the three cables: storage, power, and front controls. Next, we'll remove the single memory stick and the heat sink. We'll replace the memory with matching modules and attempt to upgrade the CPU. We removed the components and laid them out on the desk. The heatsink appears to have copper pipes, but for some reason, they are not visible on the surface of the mounting plate that directly contacts the CPU. The included CPU is an Intel Xeon E2-224 running at 3.4 GHz and consuming 71 watts. This is a low-power CPU that doesn't require extensive cooling. We will attempt to install a 6-core Intel Xeon E2-246G, which runs at 3.60 GHz and consumes 80 watts, only 9 watts more than the original CPU. The current memory is a 16 GB ECC unbuffered module. We will replace it with two 16 GB ECC unbuffered modules. You can also install two 32 GB memory modules. Please note that this system does not support registered memory, and the motherboard has only two memory slots. Now, let's install the components. We installed the CPU and applied Ceramic 2 Premium High-Density Thermal Cooling Compound. Now, we're ready to install the heatsink. We also installed matching memory modules. We'll attempt to install a Dell Dual NVMe card, though we're unsure if it will work. We updated the BIOS and enabled bifurcation, but it's uncertain if the HP motherboard will support the Dell Dual NVMe card. We'll install the NVMe card in the only available PCIe port on this riser, as the other port is dedicated to the HP ILO card. We won't be installing the HP ILO card, as most users will likely have direct access to this system at home or in a small business setting, rather than in a data center. We attempted to use the Dell Dual NVMe card, but it didn't work. We even tried installing the operating system on a different drive, but the system still didn't recognize the Dell NVMe card. Despite having an NVMe controller and enabling BIOS bifurcation, nothing we tried made the system recognize the Dell Dual NVMe card. Instead, we used a simple Lenovo NVMe card, which was recognized immediately. we installed Windows 11 Pro without any issues. It's unfortunate that this system only has one PCIe port, and we're not sure if that's the best use for it. Another option is to use an HP adapter to install a 2.5-inch SSD drive. In this case, we used an HP 960GB Enterprise SSD drive, but you can easily go up to 4 terabytes per drive. We installed Windows Server 2022 without any issues. Please note that the onboard RAID card is a software RAID card. Overall, this is an excellent small system with low power consumption and ample compute, memory, and storage capabilities. It's ideal as a home lab server, firewall, or VoIP system, and can easily support a small office. The best setup would likely involve installing a hardware RAID card with 4 18-terabyte SAS hard drives in RAID and running the operating system from a USB hard drive. ESXi, TrueNAS, and Unraid are all suitable operating systems for this HP microserver.